James Richards. In 2009, a man named James Richard was in Livermore, California. These parallel universes in California, eh? Interesting. Driving home from Turlock with his dog. He claims that when he pulled over to let the pup empty her bladder, she sprinted after a rabbit, and he followed after her but tripped, knocking himself unconscious. When James came to, he was next to an odd machine in the company of a man named Jonas, who claimed to have found his unconscious body while on a work trip for an interdimensional travel agency. While they were together, Jonas and Richards wound up chatting about the pop culture in their respective universes and discovered that not only did the Beatles also exist in this dimension, but they were all still alive and actively making music. Richards acquired a cassette tape labeled Everyday Chemistry, which contained Beatles songs that never existed in our dimension. He even uploaded the songs to a website and called it the BeatlesNeverBrokeUp.com. Now this I gotta see. We're gonna go copy and paste. God, this better not give me a virus. Imagine that. I have to download it? Why didn't you just put it on SoundCloud, dude? Why didn't you just throw it on Bandcamp? Oh yeah, so on September 9th, 2009, I experienced something I'm still having trouble believing happened to me. I came into possession of a cassette tape containing a Beatles album that was never released. The story of the tape. Wow. I am not downloading this. I don't trust this man who says he met a man from another dimension. I would need to be a little more careful. Maybe I will after I'm done filming the video, but definitely not going willy-nilly and downloading a zip file in the middle of filming. Not today, Satan. Carol Chase McElhenney. A woman named Carol Chase McElhenney was driving in San Bernardino towards Paris, California, when she saw a road sign for Riverside nearby. Since that's where she and her family's roots were, she wanted to visit the familiar place, but when she arrived at the street she'd grown up on, she claimed she couldn't find her old place, and all the houses looked different. She decided to drive to the street her grandmother used to live on, but discovered it was altered as well. When she tried to visit the cemetery where her grandparents were buried, it wasn't there, and the lot was fenced up and full of overgrown weeds. Already baffled, Carol pulled onto University Avenue, a place where you'd usually find restaurants, hotels, and other businesses, but it was an unkempt, graffiti-covered area, and something about the people there frightened her. She was afraid to get out of her car, feeling as if she interacted with the people there, she'd forever be stuck there. After a couple more frustrating hours not recognizing things, she returned to Paris. A few years later, Carol's father died and was to be buried in the same cemetery as her grandparents. When she arrived, everything was back to the way she remembered it growing up. Carol believes she visited a parallel dimension with an ill-fated version of Riverside. Damn. That feels like an episode of The Twilight Zone, or maybe Goosebumps. Maybe a short film. That would be so, upsetting. It would, crush your soul to go back and, not be able to recognize anything, to walk around in this place and just be like, this is not how I remember it. Of course, any town you grow up in, you're going to return to later, and a lot of things will have changed. Some of your favorite businesses might have gone out of business, some buildings you might have recognized may have been knocked over, but to have it just all totally not correct would drive your brain crazy. There'd be an itch in there, it would be impossible to scratch. You gotta wonder how you go there and not have a breakdown. I mean, she said she was pretty close, right? Poor Carol. Hello everybody and welcome back to Top 10 Central Dark, your place for all things horror. I'm your host Keegan Hughes, and today we're taking a look at top 10 real parallel universe stories. There are potentially infinite parallel universes out there, all slightly different than the last, and if you go far enough along, I suppose you'd find one that's totally unrecognizable because it's such a variation from the original source. Who knows? Are we the source? Are we a variation? Let's find out. A mysterious man from Taured. Allegedly, this man told customs he was in Japan for business and had legitimate visa stamps, currency from multiple European countries, checks from an unknown bank, and a driver's license issued in Taured. He was sent to a hotel while things were sorted out, while two immigration officers stood outside of his hotel door. But when they went to check on him in the morning, he'd vanished. This was from 15 stories up above a busy street, so escaping through a window was unlikely if not impossible. The Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department searched but never located the man from Taured. There we go. Here's some, those are some hearty details there. Those are the meat and potatoes of your crazy interdimensional stories. He had all sorts of stuff going for him. He had money. He had a passport. He had visas. He had a backstory, I guess. I feel like a lot of these people are just like, yeah, they were there and then they weren't. They said they were from somewhere, but then they weren't. This guy's got a whole thing going for him. The man from Taured. Is he really green, though? That's what I have to wonder. I wonder what Taured's like this time of year. Screaming girls sucked into an alternate universe. What a title! The ladies had been driving on black asphalt in the desert, but after taking a wrong turn, they said they found themselves driving on white cement, surrounded by grain fields and a lake. They spotted a building with a large neon sign making up illegible random squiggles. As they pulled in for assistance, a large group of tall men poured out from the front door, seemingly shocked and upset, waving their arms at the girls. The girls then realized these tall men didn't appear to be human, so they freaked out and drove off. While the girls were driving away, they noticed 4 peculiar egg-shaped automobiles mounted on tricycle-style wheels were following them. They sped ahead until the mysterious vehicles were out of sight, and when they reached the canyon and drove all the way back through it, they'd somehow returned to the desert they were originally in. Glad to be back, but unable to figure out the mysterious place they'd just gone or how they arrived there. It feels like that scene from in the Mouth of Madness, right? In the Mouth of Madness? The Carpenter flick, where, you know, you read Sutter Kane. Feels like you're just driving on the highway and then all of a sudden, whoosh, you're somewhere else. Except this time they're driving on white concrete and aliens that drive tricycle eggs are chasing you. It's a good story, I'll tell you that. It's a fun one. Good sci-fi. Jofar Vorin. So this story goes, a peculiar guy popped up in a village where he was picked up and questioned by authorities. The only comprehensible language he spoke was a broken variation of German, but he said his name was Jofar Vorin, and claimed to come from part of the world known as Sakria. He conveyed that he was searching for his long-lost brother whom he'd been separated from during a shipwreck. While he had geographical information regarding his home planet, such as 5 compartments known as Sakria, Aflar, Aslar, Auslar, and Uflar, he couldn't trace his route on shore, and he would wind up living in Berlin, where he was a topic of discussion amongst the scientific and simply curious communities. This just sounds like a guy who's convinced himself he's from another planet. I don't know if he's actually from another planet. You know, he's speaking German, and he's near Berlin. You can kind of maybe be like, okay, that works. His name is Jofar, and he just made up a bunch of stuff. People do it all the time. They write books about it. Sci-fi books. This guy could be a great author. Come on, Jofar, get it together. Cabin in the Markawasi Stone Forest. One day, a woman and her friends were camping at a site near the mysterious forest where they heard music coming from a small stone cabin that was lit up by torches. They claimed to see people wearing 17th century fashion dancing inside, and the curious woman was drawn to it, so she headed over and tried to enter. Before she could get inside, a friend pulled her away, and half of her body immediately became paralyzed, the half that had entered the cabin. Some believe that the woman partially entered a dimensional gateway, and when she was pulled out, she experienced a shift that threw off her nervous system, resulting in her partial paralyzation. Wow. Poor woman. I don't really know what to say about this one. It sounds like these folks may have been experiencing some hallucinations, maybe from some hallucinatory substances, because nobody else seems to be able to back them up on this happening. Nobody else has ever seen any singing and dancing going on inside this wood cabin. They were near the mysterious forest. I don't know. Lorena Garcia Gordo, the woman from a parallel universe. Lorena Garcia woke up one morning and noticed minor differences. Her sheets were unfamiliar, and the pajamas she was wearing were different from the ones she'd gone to sleep in. Her day got weirder when she went to work and discovered that her office was no longer hers, and she worked in the same building but in a different department, under a boss she'd never met. Bamboozled, she returned home only to find that her ex-boyfriend was there. Only he wasn't her ex, he was her current boyfriend. Her new lover, whom she'd been dating for months, was nowhere to be found. Lorena believes she woke here, but she's from a parallel universe where the differences are small as her bedspread and significant as her love life. How'd you get here, Lorena? Where'd you go to get here? How did you travel between the universes just by going to bed one night? Is that a thing that happens? Are the folds on your sheets, folds between our universes? I don't know. This is freaking me out, Lorena. You gotta tell me more about the universe you came from and how your brain's doing. Take too much Advil? Huh? Drink a lot of water? You okay? I'm wondering. I'm worried. I'm worried about you, Lorena. I am. Pedro Olivia Ramirez. In November 1986, a man named Pedro Olivia Ramirez was driving from Seville to a town called Alcalá de Guadaira when he went around a curve and allegedly found himself on a 6-lane highway. He continued driving down this straight road, seeing unfamiliar things like 20-story housing units, unidentified structures, and grass about 2 feet high along the edge of the road. Shortly thereafter, he felt a hot sensation within his vehicle and heard distant voices, one of which stood out, informing him that he'd been transferred to another country in a different hemisphere. He continued driving on the highway for an hour and then stopped to examine the unfamiliar roadside area. After getting back in his car and continuing his drive, he spotted a sign pointing in 3 different directions. One was labeled Malaga, the other was Sevilla, and the last one was Alcabala. Pedro took the Sevilla detour, and without fully knowing why, he stopped driving. When he looked to his left, he was standing outside of his home in Alcalá de Guadaira. Frustrated and confused, he tried to retrace his steps, but could never find the crossroads or the triple road sign. Yeah, this guy just went through a different type of wormhole, man. He was flying through universes, through alternate universes. Kind of sucks that he got so far just to kind of like be back home, you know? Spent a lot on gas out there. I'd just be interested in seeing what's going on. You gotta wonder how he didn't stay there if he was driving in the wrong direction for so long. Like he wasn't just like permanently trapped over there, unable to find his way back. I don't know. It's interesting. So I've never discussed this with anyone other than my sister and a friend of mine. Around the age of 11, my family decided to go and visit my grandparents, and while we were there, I decided to go out and play around for a bit. They had a road that had stores and a car park on the right that had enough space for me to play around with my friends that lived there. As I got down and ran to that car park, a car went past that nearly crashed into me. And in that car, there were 3 passengers, a woman, her daughter, and a male driver. As I dodged the car, they looked like they had no emotions whatsoever and looked really dull. And as I focused into the car, the male driver was my dad. Very easily distinctive, and the car was our car. Same color, same car plates, same everything. As I was in there with shock, I instantly ran up to our car thinking it was stolen, but our car was right there. I turned around to follow the other car, and all I know, the car was no longer there. This guy witnessed some doppelgangers. Some people pretending to be his family, pretending to be in his family car. Why would it try to run him down, though? Maybe it's them from the future. Maybe this kid did something bad. He did something real bad. They gotta go back in time and take him out. But he dodged it, so he's still out there, writing stories on the internet. Maybe that's what they were trying to stop him from doing, you know? Maybe he wrote a story that altered the course of history or caused a giant uprising of some sort, and these folks were like, "You've ruined our lives. We're totally devoid of emotion. We haven't been able to afford another car. This is the same one we have. But we'll go back in time and smack the kid." Deja vu. When I wake up, the first thing I do is get on my computer, and so I did that one morning. I decided I'd check my subscription feed on YouTube, and the first video that showed up was just some mundane story time type of video. I don't usually watch this type of stuff, but for some odd reason I had an urge to click on it to see what it was. And so I did. I watched a few seconds of the video unamused, and then suddenly I got a huge feeling of deja vu. I felt like I'd watched the video before. But the weirdest thing is that I started reciting it. I knew every word said in the video. I freaked out because watching this video before was impossible, as it was uploaded 20 minutes before I watched it. I even checked if this was some sort of re-upload or remake, but it wasn't. Maybe you've got a mental connection. This person's your long-lost twin, and you've got the twin telepathy going down. You know these words by heart because they happen to somebody that is very close to you. You just might not know it. The best way to avoid things like that is maybe don't go on YouTube very first thing in the morning. You know, if you want to have a good day, maybe YouTube isn't the first thing that you subject your brain to. I know, we're on YouTube right now. We all love it here. But, you know, maybe have some orange juice, you know, sit at the kitchen table, take a deep breath, maybe walk outside, And then you can start on the YouTube once you've kind of acclimated to being alive again for the day. Because you might end up just having deja vu with a storytime video. Who knows? And that's all the time we have for today, folks. Hopefully some of these stories got your imagination turning like it did mine. Do you think any of them were real? I'm not so sure, but if people are traveling interdimensionally, I would like to do so too. So please, interdimensional travelers, come, pick me up. Let's go. Make sure you stick around for some bloopers because I always stumble over myself and say the most ridiculous of things. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. He claims that when he pulled up to let the pump... Sorry. Oh, alrighty. I feel like I got a lot of hair lately, you know? It's really sticking out, making my head twice as wide as it needs to be. Alrighty. Looks like a nice lady. Wearing a cool shirt, nice necklace. What does Carol have to say for herself? Let's see what James looks like. Okay, we've just got a cassette tape here with Beatles' Everyday Chemistry. That's not a Beatles album, is it? I guess we're about to find out what's going on. Oh, God. This does not look like Pedro Olivia Ramirez. It looks like a BMW speeding down a tunnel. But we'll find out what it all means in a second. Alcalá de Guadaira. Let's try that again. Guadaira. Why can't I read in Spanish? Okay, hello. Is that a face without a face, or is it just somebody's forehead? Oh, that's an image that I didn't expect to see. I like the cabin. I don't know about this this silhouette there. I don't know if they... I like the title the most, I think. Screaming Girls Sucked into Alternate Universe. That could be a title on another website that I'm not going to mention here.